A furnace catalog. Open to page 12. Models ranging from $4,000. Before you turn that page, I need you to do something first. Take a flashlight. Go to your attic and look down. If you see what I'm about to describe, your furnace isn't the problem. And the new one won't fix it either. Every winter, the same conversation happens in hardware stores and HVAC showrooms across the country. A homeowner walks in with a heating bill that doesn't make sense anymore. The technician runs a load calculation and recommends a bigger unit. The homeowner signs the check. 6 months later, the bill is almost the same. Not because the equipment was wrong, because the equipment was never the problem. There is something happening in your attic right now. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't leave a stain. Most HVAC contractors never mention it, because they're trained to look at equipment, not at buildings. It's called stack effect leakage. And it may be costing you more than your furnace ever could. Here's what most homeowners picture when they think about heat loss. A drafty window, a door that doesn't seal right, maybe thin walls or old insulation that's settled over the years. Those things matter, but they're not where the real loss happens. The real loss happens. A real loss happens above your ceiling, at the boundary between the warm space where you live and the cold, unheated attic above it. That boundary has holes in it, not big, obvious holes. Small ones. The kind that don't look like anything when you're standing in the room below. A plumbing stack that passes through the top plate. An electrical chase that runs up into the framing. A recessed light fixture installed flush in your bedroom ceiling. The gap where your drywall meets the framing at the very top of the wall. Each one, by itself, seems insignificant. Together, they function like an open damper. One that runs 24 hours a day and never closes. To understand why this matters, you need to think about how air behaves in a heated building. Warm air rises, you already know that. But here's the part most people miss. When warm air rises and escapes at the top of your house, it has to be replaced from somewhere. So cold air is pulled in at the bottom. Through the sill plates, around the foundation, under exterior doors. Your house is breathing. But it's breathing in all the wrong places. The warm air you paid to heat rises through those small penetrations in your ceiling plane, into the attic, and out through the ridge or the soffit. It doesn't stop. It doesn't ask permission. Think of it like a slow leak in a water tank. The pump runs constantly to maintain pressure. The leak is so small you can barely see it. But the pump never rests. That's your furnace, running longer cycles than it should. Because the house is a tank with a leak in the ceiling. There's a test you can do tonight, with nothing more than a flashlight and 20 minutes. Go into your attic during the day or at dusk. Turn the flashlight off. Let your eyes adjust. Wait for it. If you see daylight coming through from the living space below, you have stack effect penetrations. Multiple ones. Sometimes you'll see a faint glow around a plumbing stack. Sometimes a thin line of light where the drywall meets the top plate. Sometimes just nothing visible from above, but a ring of dark staining on the attic side insulation. That dark ring is called a dust ring, and it's one of the most important diagnostic signals in building science. Here's what it tells you. For months, maybe years, warm air has been carrying fine dust particles up through that penetration. The insulation around it acts like a filter. The dust collects in a ring shape. The ring shows you exactly where the leak is and how long it's been active. If you see multiple dust rings in your attic, You don't need a bigger furnace. You need a caulk gun and 2 hours on a Saturday morning. Now, before you go up there with a can of expanding foam and start sealing everything in sight, stop. The type of penetration determines the correct sealer. This is the one detail that changes everything. Get it right, and you solve the problem permanently. Get it wrong, and you create a fire hazard that a home inspector will flag the next time you sell. Let me walk you through the 3 main categories. The first is small gaps, around wires, small pipes, and the junction where drywall meets top plates. For these, you want a flexible, paintable fire-rated acoustical sealant. Not regular caulk. Not foam. A sealant rated for air sealing at penetrations. You'll find it at any building supply or Home Depot in the insulation aisle. A tube costs about $8 to $12 and seals dozens of linear feet. The second is medium gaps, around plumbing stacks, larger pipe penetrations, and framing gaps wider than ½ an inch. Here you use low-expansion fire-rated foam. Not the standard orange can. The specific product for fire-rated applications. The distinction matters. Standard foam is not rated for areas near heat sources. The third category is recessed lights, and this one needs a different approach entirely. Old recessed fixtures. The kind installed in the 1980s and 90s, are one of the worst offenders in the entire envelope. They're essentially holes punched in your ceiling with a metal can around them. The can is not airtight. Heat pours through it directly into the attic. The correct solution for non-IC rated recessed lights is an airtight cover box, installed from above, in the attic, sealed with fire-rated caulk around the perimeter. You can find pre-made versions for around $20 to $30 each, or build them from rigid mineral wool board for less. IC-rated fixtures can be sealed directly at the housing perimeter with fire-rated caulk. What you must never do is use standard foam around a metal chimney flue, a B vent, or any heat-producing stack. Those penetrations require a sheet metal collar and fire-rated caulk only. Foam near a flue is a code violation and a fire risk. Full stop. Here is the sequence that matters. Not every penetration has the same impact, and not every attic has the same combination of problems. Start with the dust rings. They tell you where the active leaks are. Photograph them before you seal. Then work from largest to smallest. Top plates first, because that's often the longest continuous gap in the entire ceiling plane. Then plumbing and electrical penetrations. Then recessed lights, which take the most time per unit, but deliver significant return in older homes. A typical 1,500 to 2,000 square foot ranch, or 2-story built before 1995, will have between 12 and 25 significant penetration points. Most can be sealed in a single morning. Total material cost, in most cases, between $40 and $90. A tube of fire-rated sealant, 1 can of low-expansion fire-rated foam, a few cover boxes for recessed lights if needed. $40 against a $6,000 furnace replacement. Now I want to be honest with you about something. Sealing your attic penetrations is not a magic fix. It won't turn a 20-year-old furnace into a new one. If your equipment is genuinely failing, if it's beyond its service life, if the heat exchanger is cracked, if efficiency has dropped below acceptable levels, then yes, replacement makes sense. But here's how you know whether the equipment is actually the problem. After you've sealed the penetrations, wait 1 full heating season, or at minimum, 4 to 6 weeks of consistent cold weather. Then compare your energy consumption to the same period the year before. If you see a 20 to 35% reduction, the envelope was the primary issue. Your existing furnace may well be sufficient. If consumption drops modestly but comfort remains poor, Then run a proper manual J-load calculation with the sealed envelope as the baseline. You may find that the correctly sized unit for your actual tightened envelope is smaller and less expensive than what was originally recommended. HVAC contractors calculate load based on the house as they find it, not as it could be after air sealing. That means they're often right to recommend larger equipment for a leaky house. But that's the wrong starting point. Seal first, then size. There's a protocol I'd suggest for anyone who gets a furnace replacement recommendation before air sealing has been done. Call it a 30-minute attic audit. Take a flashlight. Note all penetrations you can see from above. Look for dust rings. Look for visible daylight when the light is off. Note the condition of the top plate, insulation at the perimeter of the ceiling. Take photographs. Then ask your contractor one question. Have you accounted for attic air sealing in this load calculation? If they look uncertain, you have your answer. A building scientist or energy auditor can do a blower door test that quantifies exactly how leaky your envelope is in standardized units called ACH 50, air changes per hour at 50 pascals of pressure. Most pre-1990 homes in temperate climates test between 8 and 15 ACH 50 without air sealing work. After a focused attic sealing session, many drop to 4 to 6, and some reach the 2 to 3 range that puts them in a different efficiency tier entirely. The blower door test costs between $200 and $400 depending on your region, and it tells you more about why your house is cold than any equipment spec sheet ever will. The furnace catalog is still open. Page 12. But before using the flashlight, the dust rings. A house that bleeds heat through its ceiling isn't asking for more fire. It's asking for the leak to stop. The expensive solution fights the wrong problem. Seal the penetrations, measure the result, then decide. The fix was always there. You just couldn't see it.